Good morning and welcome to Driving Force Radio, where we seek to discover what drives today's leaders. Today's show is going to be a fun show, a really interesting show, because our guests are from Visit Denver, a nonprofit trade organization that contracts with the city to market Denver as a convention and leisure destination. Our guest is Justin Bresler, who's been with the Bureau since 2008 and has more than 18 years of marketing and sales experience. Justin, welcome to the show.
Good morning. Thank you for having me.
We are so excited to have you here because Visit Denver and the Bureau that's there really does drive economic impact for the city. Can you tell us a little bit about the organization?
Sure, yeah. The impact of tourism, and also there's a whole meeting side of our business that not a lot of people think about. It's just huge. So Visit Denver, we're the Convention and Visitors Bureau for the metropolitan Denver area. So we don't just cover downtown Denver, we also cover the whole 7-county metro area from Boulder to Castle Rock. And DIA to the foothills. But really, we're selling the state as well. And we're a city contractor. We get money from the lodger's tax in the city, county, and Denver. So if you're staying in Denver, part of that comes to the Bureau. We also raise private money through the sale of memberships. We're a membership organization. You have to pay just a little bit of money to join the Bureau. We sell advertising and things like our official visitors guide. We do the official website for the city's tourism effort. And the impact of tourism, I mean, coming from the outside into the tourism industry, I was just amazed at how much reach it has and how big of an impact it is and what it means for the city. So we spend about $17 million a year between the public money and the private. And in 2011, which is the latest year that we have numbers for, we saw more than 13 million visitors come to the city, and they spent $3.3 billion on the city. That's direct spending. The tax impact is tremendous as well. So the residents of Colorado can thank visitors for lowering their tax burden by about $450 a year as well. So it's just a tremendous industry.
Yeah, and I guess I didn't really realize the impact of the industry because it's just in Denver alone, tourism is the second largest industry, generating, like you said, $3.3 billion. And supporting nearly 50,000 jobs. But we were talking before we started that number statewide is really much larger,
right,
and that tourism really plays a huge role in the economy of Colorado.
Yeah, it's the second largest industry for the city, and it's also the second largest industry for the state. So as you mentioned, it's about 50,000 jobs in Metro Denver, and it's more than 140,000 jobs statewide. And the other great thing about it is that tourism businesses tend to be small businesses. There are the big hotels that are downtown, but when you get out of that, it's independent art galleries, it's bed and breakfast, it's small lodges in the mountains, it's rafting businesses, and so a lot of the money tends to stay in the state, and I think that's true not just in Colorado, but across the country too. So just a great impact on local businesses.
That's amazing to me, and
you can't outsource it.
Right, you have to physically be here
tourism.
Right. And I know it's been a big push for the governors recently and for the state, but there's also another side of what you do, and you mentioned it earlier, is the meeting and convention industry. That's a very significant industry as well, and something that we're trying to grow here in Denver, yes?
Yeah, it's funny because I think everyone kind of knows what a visitors bureau is just because they've heard of one, but when they think of a visitors bureau, they probably think of tourism, of them, because everyone's gone on vacation, but they tend to not think about the meeting side of it, even though most people at one time or another have gone to a business meeting. Maybe it's something from their company, or maybe it's part of an association they belong to. And so part of what we do is try to bring groups in to have their meetings either at the Colorado Convention Center or at the hotels in downtown Denver, or anywhere over the metro area. And it's an amazingly complex and competitive business. So whereas on the tourism side, a lot of how we market is through advertising and promotions. On the meeting side, it's direct sales. So we have a team of 14 or 15 sales managers that are working with meeting planners all over the country. By and large, they're association meeting planners, which makes up about 2/3 of our meeting business, about 70%, because they have annual meetings, so it's really a predictable business. And the rest is corporate business and some other stuff like sports groups. But as I mentioned, it's very competitive. So Denver 15 years ago was competing against sort of smaller cities, with no disrespect to them because they're great cities, but we might be competing against a Nashville, Tennessee, or a Louisville, Kentucky, or maybe an Indianapolis. And we've really since cracked the top 10. And so now we compete against people like Las Vegas and Orlando and San Francisco and Boston that have been very well-established meeting cities that have a great reputation. And so, but we still compete against all the other cities as well. So it never ends, but the impact is just great for the city.
Well, Justin, talk a little bit about that impact and how that's helped drive us into that top 10,
Sure.
both financially as well as driving us into the top 10.
Sure. Well, part of the I'll talk about the impact first. And again, in 2011, I think is the latest year we have full year figures for. Convention spending was north of $500 million in the Denver metro area. Wow. And that's direct spending by meeting attendees, so that doesn't count their airfare, but it does count their hotel room, it counts the meals that they eat, and it counts a lot of entertainment too, because you've been to conventions where there's a lot of exhibitors and they like to take people out after hours.
Right.
So a lot of spending at restaurants and buyouts of galleries, and but also shopping, transportation. So again, it really spreads the wealth out. So when an attendee comes here, they're really hitting spending in multiple different areas of the city. And all kinds of groups too. So as I said, you get associations of doctors, and then you get associations of students and teachers, and so it's a really nice mix of business. And Denver got there in a lot of different ways. Probably the best thing we have going for us, well, we have two great things going for us. Mm-hmm. First of all, we have an amazing airport. DIA and the amount of accessibility, the location of it in the center of the country really makes it easy for groups to get here. You know, we're 4 hours from everywhere, as opposed to if you're trying to go from LA to the East Coast, it's a haul. Yeah. And then the convention center. The Colorado Convention Center is truly a world-class facility that meeting planners love to book their groups into. Attendees have a really great, productive meeting experience there, and then they can go walk across the street to 8,000 hotel rooms within walking distance. So it's just a really nice combination of amenities.
Well, and we've seen that grow over the recent years. I mean, with the convention center coming in, and with the development of the full line on the light rail, you've really seen downtown and the whole city grow around this very industry. Mm-hmm. And I think that's so compelling to watch, because we're seeing it now expand north and south and east and west all over town. We're seeing light rail move out to our airports and all kinds of things to support these industries, I'm assuming. Yeah,
that's right. For the meeting side of it, downtown is kind of the rising tide. Yep. That lifts the whole city in a few different ways. If we book a convention that fills up all the downtown hotel rooms, well, you've still got overnight business travelers that are just here for one-to-one meetings, and they might have a tough time finding a room downtown, so they're going to be looking into the tech center, into the Stapleton hotels in suburban areas. And when downtown is full, the rates in the surrounding areas tend to go up a little bit. It's a phenomenon that we call compression, and so it makes the metro areas happy. I mean, people still will have their business here, and competitively, Denver has a pretty competitive hotel rate to begin with. Right. And so we're not going to turn people off when the rates go up a little bit, but it is good for the whole city. The rail line from DIA to downtown is probably the single biggest thing to happen to the city, in the last 5 years and in the next 5 years, just because that access to the airport has been an issue for meeting planners. Not an issue, but a perception that it's really far. Right. That DIA, because you land at DIA and there's nothing but fields around you. Right. And you think, where am I? Am I in Kansas? Are you sure I landed in Denver? But the fact is that DIA is no farther from downtown Denver than O'Hare is from downtown Chicago. Exactly. But you pass through a lot different landscape when you're driving from O'Hare into downtown. But it does, the cab fare, comes off as kind of steep. So that rail line is just going to address probably the biggest deficiency we have, which is that public transportation to downtown, which every other big city has already. Absolutely. So you guys do a lot of other programming, and you're in charge of so many things and help really get the word out and get people engaged in the city. Can you talk about some of the programming that Visit Denver and your organization are responsible for? Yeah. I'll back up a little bit by talking about, first of all, where we focus our most of our time and most of our resources is for the spring-summer tourism season. A lot of people think that in Colorado that the winter is the bigger tourism season because of skiing, and it's great, but the fact is that tourism is more than twice as big during the spring-summer than it is over the winter. And for Denver, it's even better because during the winter, I think a lot of people like to get to their resorts, and it's a little bit tougher to get them to spend a night in the city. So that's where most of our time and energy is. But over the fall and winter, we do run a number of really fun programs, and we run them for a few different reasons. The biggest reason that we run these programs is because Denver's got a brand that we're trying to sell. We're a young, active city at the base of the Rocky Mountains, and we're full of this energy that can mean different things to different people. So someone said no one ever comes on vacation to Denver to stay inside, and it's so true. So you might be experiencing that energy by, walking to a theater or walking to a great restaurant. Certainly, we're a great, well-known city for adventure, whether it's rafting or climbing and access to the mountains. But with this brand that we're trying to sell, we believe that it starts with our locals. And if you can't convince your locals of certain things, how you ever convince a visitor about it? So we start off in the fall with something called Denver Beer Fest. Yep. Because Denver and Colorado is absolutely the epicenter of craft brewing for the country. There's more than 200 craft beers brewed here every day, and we're getting a great reputation for it. And what really helps in that is the Great American Beer Festival, which is the largest beer festival in the country, and it's sort of it's the Super Bowl of beer competitions. And the brewing world really convenes in Denver over those few days, and so there was a lot of events getting planned around it, but nobody ever had cataloged them. So sometimes it's meet the brewery night. Sometimes restaurants will do pairings with other with food that they serve, and so we just took the time to kind of put an umbrella over the whole thing, and that's what Denver Beer Fest is. And so we catalog all the events, and we advertise it out to the locals to come experience this great beer culture that we have that we're really well known for. And that's the kind of pattern that progresses through the rest of the fall and winter. We also do Denver Arts Week, which is a 10-day celebration of the arts and culture scene in Denver, which again is, you look at the exhibits that the Denver Art Museum has had over the last few years, the Yves Saint Laurent exhibit, exclusive for North America, the Van Gogh exhibit that just wrapped up, exclusive for the world, and that'll never get put together again. And so it's great to be able to turn around and say to our locals, here's how you can experience our arts and culture. So we have a great expanded First Friday Art Walk. We have a night at the museum that's modeled after in Paris, where more than 20 museums stay open for free for 5 or 6 hours. And then we move into what we're moving into right now is something called Mile High Snowfest, which, again, Denver is the center of the snow sports universe, or Colorado is for sure. And Denver has more snow sports participants than any other city in the world. You walk around town and you just feel like, I'm not doing enough. I just feel lazy walking around downtown. And every January, an event comes to Denver called the Snow Show, which is put on by an organization called SIA, or Snow Sports Industries of America, and it's all of the manufacturers of the hard and soft goods for the outdoor sports, the winter sports industry. So that's skis, boots, snowboards, hats, earphones, whatever you have it. And then all the retailers from all the large chains and independent ski shops come to make their orders for the next season. And we put an umbrella over. You can't go to the show because it's not a public show.
Specific,
it's an industry show. But again, there's all these great things that are going on that week, or they're going on next week, because the city knows how to program for these. There's almost 20,000 snow sports enthusiasts that come to the city. So great concerts get put on, just great promotions get put on. So during Mile High Snowfest, if you want to experience it, it goes from January 30th to February 2nd, and one of the biggest events is something called Icelantic's Winter on the Rocks. So for the second year in a row, Icelantic is putting on a winter concert at Red Rocks. Amazing. And if you haven't been to Red Rocks, it should be on your bucket list if you're a music fan.
Yeah. And what's the concert?
So the concert is a hip hop artist called Macklemore and his DJ Ryan Lewis, which I started listening to it after they booked it, and it's fantastic. He's a great performer. He's come here a couple of times in 2012 and sold out when he was here, and so I'm counting on a nice 40-degree night with some maybe some light snow falling down and just 9,000 rockin' music fans out at Red Rocks.
Absolutely, and there's so many other things. Talk about some of the other deals that are available during Snowfest.
Yeah, that's great. Well, there's other concerts. The folks at City Hall, not the government building, but the music venue, are putting on a great show. Trans World Snowboard always does their Riders Pole Awards every year in Denver during Snow Show, and that's going on at the Fillmore. And there's also lots of other fun things to do. There's this thing called the Art of Winter, which is a really, really neat program, and it's a few years old, and it's a locally based group called Something Independent, puts it on in conjunction with Larimer Square and the Denver Theater District, and it's really a celebration of art and ideas and people, all kind of surrounding the snow sports industry, which again, Denver and Colorado are really known for. So there's seminars with sort of thought leaders from the winter sports industry, and there's these tremendous art installations throughout the city, especially in the downtown area. So they take recycled skis and snowboards, and they have local artists sort of paint them, and then they'll hang them up in Larimer Square, Row 14, I think. There's some cafes downtown, they're doing it, and then I believe there'll be some projected art down in the Denver Theater District, and I think you can find out at artofwinter.co, or you can just go to milehighsnowfest.com, and there's links out to all of these events as well. Okay, so milehighsnowfest.com. If you had to highlight some of the other events that are going on, obviously Winter on the Rocks is one of your favorites, it sounds like. What are some of the other events that folks can come to? Yeah, there are other neat things going on. A lot of people will come into an event like the Snow Show with their families. It's not all 19-year-old snowboard reps. And the Denver Partnership, in conjunction with Southwest Airlines, has a free ice skating rink on the 16th Street Mall called the Southwest Rink at Skyline Park. And that's open all day, like 10 to 8 or 10 to 9, and even a little later on the weekends. You can ice skate for free. If you don't have skates, they'll rent them to you for $2. Wow. The Denver Pavilions always puts on lots of fun stuff that week. Their merchants, put on deals and discounts. They do these neat chalk drawings. They'll run free pedicabs between the pavilions and the Colorado Convention Center, especially for the attendees. So that's always really fun. Again, it's concerts, it's shopping. A lot of restaurants will really sort of roll out the white carpet for the Snow Show attendees. And if you happen to not be a member of the show, I'm sure to roll that out for you as well. Sure. And then, Visit Denver offers these year-round deals and discounts from our members, several dozen deals, and that's at restaurants and shops and attractions. And those are all listed on the Mile High Snowfest website as well. So anyone can just go there and, go grab, an appetizer or a drink, spend the night out downtown. That it sounds like so much fun. Free skating, concerts, all kinds of things going on, art shows. It's definitely worth the trip downtown. Yeah. So Katie, someone that works there at Visit Denver with you, said that I had to ask you, Winter on the Rocks sounds like it's one of your favorites, but how do you feel about the song Thrift Shop? I did have a little thrift shop phase when I was in high school, and was not above literally walking in somebody else's shoes. So I'm a big fan of it, and it's a really funny song. And if you haven't listened to it, you should give it a spin, because it's just a fun take on a really fun activity, and I'm sure that it's going to be a crowd pleaser when he breaks it out at the show. At Red Rocks. So obviously, Mile High Snowfest coming January 30th through February 2nd downtown, but there are so many other things coming in the pipeline this winter as we head into spring and summer. Can you talk about what's coming for the rest of winter, and then we'll switch over to what to expect for spring and summer? Sure. Well, the biggest thing coming up is Denver Restaurant Week. And whether you live in Denver or you live in another city, you're probably familiar with the Restaurant Week concept, where restaurants kind of band together and for a fixed period of time offer a special meal for a special price. We are lucky enough to have the largest restaurant week in the country with Denver Restaurant Week. And I say we're lucky, but we've put in a lot of work to get it there. Sure. It's one of the older restaurant weeks. This is its 9th year in 2013, so 2014 will be the 10-year anniversary, and we're excited about that, but I don't want to get ahead of ourselves. So as of Friday, as of last week, there were about 320 restaurants participating. Wow. And Denver Restaurant Week is a great deal. It's a fixed price, multi-course meal for 2 people for, we call it the mile high price of $52.80. Denver being 1 mile high, for those of you who don't know, but I hope everybody does. And that is an amazing deal, especially if you look at some of the restaurants participating, including some of Denver's high-end steakhouses and some of the great independent restaurants offering dinner for 2 for $52.80. And so people just go crazy for it. Yeah. And it's February 23rd to March 8th. and you can browse all the menus at denverrestaurantweek.com. And I've taken a look. It's funny. People really get serious about it. And we launched the menus last week. We launched them in the middle of January, and the attention that it gets is just ridiculous. The website got more than 1 million page views on that day alone. And usually that's about what we get in a month. So if you compress that into a 24-hour period, you kind of get a sense of the attention. People just wait for it. And if you don't get on it soon, the good tables will be gone. So if you're interested in participating, that would be my advice, is try out, get your reservations now. It's 2 weeks, so look for those second weeks. Don't be afraid to go out on a Wednesday night. Or
go a little early. If you're a 7:30 eater, go at 6:30 just because you won't get in.
Yeah, or eat a late lunch and go at 9:30. And a lot of the restaurants offer online reservations, so you can go on OpenTable and see it. And it's also a really fun time to splurge.
Yeah.
Because at $52.80, that's what you'd be spending for yourself.
Yes.
So a lot of the restaurants will offer really high quality but inexpensive glasses of wine. They'll offer dessert, bump up from the salad to the salad with shrimp or whatever. So don't be afraid to spend a little extra money, because you're getting a great deal. We do remind people on a couple of protocol items. And probably the biggest one is everyone makes all their reservations and they forget about 8 of them, which means there's 8 tables sitting out there that no one's using. So we just say, if you're not using the reservations, cancel them.
Right.
And tip that waiter or tip that waitress really well, because the meal you're getting at $52.80 may be worth like twice as much, and so they're running around like
absolutely.
So splurge on yourself, splurge on your server, have a great time.
And Justin, you're absolutely right. That $52.80 deal is amazing, and it's some of the best restaurants in this city participate, and it's an unbelievable deal. And again, denverrestaurantweek.com, going on February 23rd through March 8th.
Yeah.
What's up for the rest of 2013, Justin?
Well,
you guys are busy.
What's not up for 2013, I guess, is the question. So we're just coming out of our winter program, which is called Mile High Holidays. And we do this every year. I say we're just coming out of it because we're still in it. We're really in it through the end of the National Western Stock Show, which runs through January 27th. And
that's a big impact as well.
That's a huge, the holidays in general are a really big impact on the city. What we're trying to do, again, is we're trying to bring people in when they might not think about traveling or spending an overnight. So the Mile High Holidays program, again, with that $52.80 price point, we encourage hotels to offer some rooms at $52.80 so you can come in, do your shopping, and make a night of it. And along the way through December and even through January, there's great performances at the Performing Arts Complex. There's obviously great shopping downtown, Cherry Creek, and in the regional and suburban malls. Great time to go out, on Tuesday night, get dinner. And then New Year's Eve is always a huge deal. And so we don't offer that price point on New Year's Eve. But
no,
pretty
but
close.
That's fair.
But again, it's just a great time to come out and spend the time downtown. And then in January, National Western Stock Show comes through town. And I think it's 15 or 16 days of just, the best kind of like Western fun you ever had. It's a working professional stock show. So people come from all over the country to buy and sell livestock. There's a lot of programs for kids that are in agricultural programs. And then there's also a great, if you've never been there, if you go to the National Western Complex, there's booths of, cowboy boots and belt buckles, but there's also hats, but there's also like fencing systems and irrigation systems and all the things that both a professional farmer or a professional rancher might need, but also just someone that loves the Western culture can find. And then of course there's rodeos, there's professional rodeos, there's bull riding events, there's a Mexican rodeo on Martin Luther King Day. There's the MLK rodeo, which is all black rodeo athletes. So just check out the calendar, and it's just a great time. If you didn't make it this year, you can make it next year, because it does go on every year, and it's just a really fun. It's a great end to the Mile High Holidays session. So pretty excited about that.
And spring and summer.
So spring and summer, again, getting back to our to our core marketing period. There's really things going on all summer. So when you look at Denver as a potential place to bring your family for vacation, first of all, you got to say, like, what's going on there all the time. And we've got just unbelievable attractions. We've got places like the Denver Art Museum. We've got the Denver Zoo that just opened their Toyota Elephant Passage, which is an amazing exhibit. Places like Elitch Gardens. I mean, usually you come to a city and you got to kind of drive to the theme park, and we've got a downtown version of that.
Right.
So you can, fall out of your hotel and go walk over to Elitch's. And just other ways that make the city fun, like our B-Cycle program, which is our bike sharing program, sort of the biggest one and the most widespread one in the country. And then it's really easy to get to the mountains. You take your day trips up. You can go to Rocky Mountain National Park. You can go drive Mount Evans. You can go check out Garden of the Gods in Colorado Springs, and you can be back here in time for dinner at one of our great restaurants and spend the night in a hotel. So that's sort of that's like the ticket to the dance. Like, okay, you got all these great stuff. Now, why should I come this summer?
Right.
We work with a lot of the attractions and cultural partners in Denver to make sure we know what's going on, because we turn around and we help them promote it out to the region and out to the rest of the country. So the Denver Art Museum has a couple of great exhibits this summer. They've got a Georgia O'Keeffe. Which is amazing. It focuses on her 2 years, or I don't know how, she did a couple of years in New Mexico. And she's really... it focuses on that time period. And then the musician Nick Cave has something called Sound Suits, where he literally built these suits that people, you could wear, but they're not going to let you. These really neat little soundscapes with the suits. Denver Museum of Nature and Science has a Ice Age Mammoths and Mastodon exhibit, and then they also have a Mythbusters exhibit later in the fall.
Yeah. Well, Justin, you are doing such amazing work. We thank you so much for all the work you do in bringing tourism here to our state. Thank you so much for being with us today. How can people learn more about Visit Denver?
They should go to visitdenver.com, which is the website that catalogs everything going on in the city. And in that, there's an event calendar, which they can also get to at denver365.com, which is just if they want to know what's going on in the next couple of weeks. That website is great if you're sitting at your computer, but we also have a mobile app and a website, so you can get it on your phone as well.
Perfect. Justin, thank you so much. Visit denver.com to learn more about Mile High Snowfest next week, milehighsnowfest.com, and Denver Restaurant Week coming up, denverrestaurantweek.com. Thanks so much. Don't go anywhere. We'll be right back.